I'll be returning all the I always
Hey folks, Ricky here at the African American Annual Conference on Disabilities. Out here at the event. This is a great event, well attended, many vendors, many people, many community leaders, action takers. So I look forward to bringing you more updates here on the event today. And until we speak of me, have fantastic days.
This conference, it's very important to the conference organizers that the information that we share is accessible to all of you. We're happy to be here. Everyone here with me today pretty much is part of our Community Relations Bureau, and the focus of that bureau is all about making those connection points. And so that's what we're here today. I'm going to introduce everyone. We have Lieutenant Brian Knupel, who's with Community Relations. We have Detective Marianne Ramirez. We also have Sergeant Ben Catalano, and we have Detective Charlie McDermott. I'm sorry, she had a name change. I got to make sure I shift my thinking. So we're going to have a fun time together today. We're going to go through the entirety of the presentation, and then at the end, we'll open the floor for questions. Make sure you're taking notes along the way. Something might pop up. So this is the organizational chart for the Phoenix Police Department. How many of you are Phoenix residents? Just about half the room. How many of you, if you don't live in Phoenix, how many of you work in Phoenix? So that's pretty much the whole room. And I ask that question because it's very important that you understand that the information we're presenting today is specific to our agency. Oftentimes we have people who will ask questions about something that's going on in their community, and then it comes to find out it would have been Scottsdale, might have been Chandler, might have been a county island. We provide service specifically for Phoenix. If you are having an issue in another city, it would not be a City of Phoenix officer who could respond. However, obviously, we are connected with our fellow agencies. So if you're finding that you're having trouble getting connected or you need some advice on how to get connected, of course, speak with us about that. I just want to make sure that that you understand the information we present is specific to us. Every agency has their own budget, they have their own protocols, they have their own leadership, which means they have their own ideas about how things should be managed. And so we do things the Phoenix way. We do play in the pond and have fun with our friends with other uniforms, but what we're able to provide is specific to our services and our budget. We are the largest department in the state. We have the largest budget. We have the largest budget for the City of Phoenix departments. Out of 20 departments, we have the largest budget. We have the most staff with about 4,000 individuals who serve, both sworn and civilian. These individuals represent our leadership. So you can see we're governed by Chief Jerry Williams, 30-year law enforcement veteran, and you have Executive Assistant Chief Mike Kurtenbach. Below them, there are 7 assistant chiefs. There are some agencies across the state that only have 10 officers, which includes the chief. So you can imagine the level of service that we have to provide and the amount of management and governance that they have to give. Our patrol division is so large, we have 2 assistant chiefs on the patrol. So it's a very dynamic and ever-moving, ever-evolving organization. Our city is 500 square miles. We have about over 2,000 uniformed officers, the bulk of whom are in patrol. And it's a 24-hour, 365 service, so there's never a time when there isn't someone working in these capacities. And this is not also including 911. So 911 services are also part of that function. So you can imagine all the moving bits and pieces and the things that are going on when it comes to law enforcement services. So this morning we're going to present information about various functions, most of which are part of the Community Relations Bureau. We're also going to talk about biased crimes, which is it's a topic that's very sensitive, especially to the disability community, because there are often times that people are targeted based on their identity. And so we're going to talk through that and what that looks like. So our first speaker is going to be Lieutenant Brian Knupel, who's going to share some information about the Community Relations Bureau.
Thanks, Nikki. Appreciate it. Good morning. It's great to be with you today. My name is Brian Knupel, and I've been on the police department a little over 15 years. And throughout my career, I've served in various capacities throughout the city. So I've had a very fortunate opportunity to serve throughout, from North Phoenix to South Phoenix, from east to west, you name it. So I've had an opportunity to go around and gather a lot of experiences and a lot of things that work, don't work, and be able to work with the community. A couple months ago, I was fortunate enough to be selected to become, to oversee and be a part of our Community Relations Bureau. And under my, under that bureau, we have about 50 police personnel, sworn and civilian staff, that serve within our bureau. In that, we have a Commander Christina Gonzalez, who's my boss, and then we have 2 lieutenants, myself and Lieutenant Charmaine Osborne. And within those, we have about 7 different squads that work within the Community Relations Bureau. I'll kind of talk about my side of the shop first, and I'll talk about some of the other programs that we have. So I have the unique opportunity to serve as the lieutenant that oversees our crisis intervention teams, and as well as our community response squad. So kind of give you a brief overview of both, and then I will turn some time over to Detective Ramirez and Sergeant Catalano to go over some of those programs. But the crisis intervention team, Sergeant Catalano and Sergeant Warner are those 2 sergeants that oversee those. So we're involved in, we go out and deal with the mental health and people that may be experiencing a crisis within the community. So we've taken some big strides in the last couple of years to incorporate some different ideas and some solutions on how to better serve that community and help people get them to the right resources, and making sure that we make that and the best we can, a positive experience for them, so that we can get them in the right resources. So Sergeant Catalano will go into that a little bit more about what he does with that. The other component that we have is our community response squad. So what we are involved in is there's a very multifaceted position, because we're engaging with the community. The detectives that are assigned to Detective Ramirez is one of them that oversees our advisory boards. We have 12 different advisory boards within our police department, and they direct connect to Chief Williams and the community, and it's a very good working relationship we have. We're constantly evolving and working on building those partnerships. And Mary Ann will get into that a little bit more of what we do there. The other component of that, not only maintaining those partnerships with the community members, but we also are the squads that we are responsible for going out on protests, rallies, and marches. So we serve in a plainclothes capacity. Typically we're in a polo shirt, pants, and all of our detectives that serve in there are equipped with body-worn cameras. So we go out to, this time of year is very busy in the city of Phoenix with the amount of things that are going on, from city council meetings to rallies and protests. As we get moving into the political season, it's a very busy job. So they have their hands full. They keep very, very busy in serving in that capacity. So that's a little bit about my side of the shop. And then we look on the other side with Lieutenant Charmaine Osborne, who oversees a lot of our community engagement squads. So what I'm talking about is that we oversee programs, the Block Watch, virtual Block Watch. Has anybody heard of virtual Block Watch? Anybody heard of it? A couple? So it's something that we've made some improvements on, and we've noticed a lot of success in it. And what I mean by the virtual Block Watch program that we have is people have the ability to register their security cameras, their doorbell cameras with the city of Phoenix, so that if and when we do have a crime or we're doing an investigation in a certain neighborhood, we have the ability to see where those cameras are and help us further our investigations. It is very, very powerful. We've had a lot of great cases that we've been able to put together and solve crimes using people's information. Now, it's not a real-time live feed where we have the ability to log into your security cameras and see what's going on right now. This just lets us have the ability to know who we can reach out to and say, oh, they have a doorbell camera. We can go out and make contact with you and maybe look at that video to see if we can help further our investigation. So virtual Block Watch has come a long ways, and it's very, very, had some really good success with that. In conjunction with that is block watch groups that, again, getting people in their communities involved. It takes work and it takes a lot because a lot of us, and after a long day's work, we're quick to drive into our driveway or garage, and we don't interact too much with our neighbors. And we see how beneficial it is when neighbors share information, work together. A lot of people have started using Nextdoor, if you're familiar with that, and hopefully a lot of you folks have Nextdoor registration, because there's a lot of information sharing that goes on within the communities like that. And oftentimes, there's information on there that doesn't get to us, which it should, because there may be something going on in a neighborhood, and it's quick to be shared amongst your community, and then sometimes people are reluctant to call us. So we really encourage folks that use that program to reach out to us so that we can use that information to help with ongoing issues in neighborhoods. In conjunction though with that, we have GAIN events that we have every October throughout the city. We do large GAIN. It's an opportunity for neighbors to get together and have block parties. Again, that's one weekend out of in the month of October that we do that. It's a very busy time for us, but we have detectives and staff that go out and work with that. That's really a program that our precincts within the city rely on that, and that's how we really build those connections with the community. So if you're a Phoenix resident, I would encourage you in October to get out and to attend a GAIN event if you can. Moving on to some of the other things that we see, we have the Citizen Police Academy. Has anybody had the opportunity to attend that or have interest in doing that? I would highly encourage it. It gives you an opportunity to see a firsthand experience on what we do and getting a better understanding of the decision making that we do and some of the things that can be challenging in law enforcement. It's evolving daily, and it feels like hourly sometimes with the things that go on. And so I would encourage, if you have the time to do that, even I know Scottsdale Police Department and a lot of, I think Glendale does as well. So Citizen Police Academies are a great opportunity for the community to really see what we do. Some of the other things that we oversee, the community engagement team sees over a couple programs, and this is outside the box thinking that they've come up with. When I first got to the Bureau and we're talking about the SWEAT program, I didn't realize this, but we have officers and sergeants that will go out, and they go out and work out and do PE for some of the schools that may not have a health and wellness program. So our officers are going out there playing basketball with the kids, working with them, doing things. They're actually working with a cheerleading at a school. There's a group of cheerleaders that obviously they have we're not dance professionals, but they have choreographers and people within the school that work it. But we bring in the exercise component. So they'll go out once a week, and for an hour during the week, they will work with them and help them with their physical fitness. And so those are a lot of those programs that, unfortunately, I don't think we do a good job of getting those out all the time, but we have some really neat programs that we have. We also have the drag program. And this is something that Chief Williams brought over from Oxnard Police Department when she came over. It's a vocational program for students that may be looking into getting into auto repair, working on vehicles. So they partner with a lot of local businesses to be able to learn a trade and working with that. So we have detectives that oversee that program. You may see it at community events. Right now we have a brand new Mustang that has been donated to us by a local car dealership. It's completely decked out with decals and a light bar, and it's something that we use at community events. So it's pretty neat little police car that we have there. Another thing that I found very beneficial as a resource lieutenant in the Black Mountain Precinct, it was the ice cream truck. And some of you may have heard that. You may have seen some news articles on that. It's, again, through some generous donations, we're able to have a van that we can go out and hand out popsicles at community events. just another way for us to be able to try to connect in a non-enforcement capacity. Because we are continually trying to work on building that trust and legitimacy within the community, and that we're out there extending our hands so that we can work together to solve problems. Because we realize very quickly that we can't do it on our own, and a lot of things that we get are from the community, and we need to continue to work in building those relationships. So that's kind of the overall. There's multiple other programs that we do within our Community Relations Bureau. And again, and if you have any input or ideas that we can take back to the police department and something that you would like to see in your community, please feel free to reach out to myself, Nikki, or anybody here on the panel. We'd be happy to work with you and coming up with some different ideas. So thank you for your time, and I will go.
For those that have recently come in, thanks for coming in and joining us. We'll be taking questions at the end. So take notes, take notes. How many of you knew we had an ice cream truck? How many of you knew we had a Mustang? No, we ride low and slow. That's what we do. That's what we do. As you can see, there's a significant amount of programs. Now sometimes people just, well, welcome, gentlemen. So please welcome. This is Detective Lamont Cox, and this is Detective Michael McGrath. So they're going to join us. They're part of our crisis intervention team. I mean, they literally came in right on time because they're up next. Couldn't ask for better. So I'm gonna have, they're here with their sergeant, Ben Catalano. They're gonna explain what they do. How many of you are familiar with the name Michelle Clouseau? So what happened with Miss Michelle Clouseau is we had a call. Her mother wanted the department to go and do a welfare check. Unfortunately, at the end of that call, Michelle was no longer living. She had been shot by one of the police sergeants from our department. What happened is that our department had to own that day. And we had to own that bad day and that bad shadow over us. But what we also are, we are a progressive department. And so also in the vein of ownership, it means you have to make change. As a result of the things that we did that day, we had to have a very difficult conversation with ourselves about what we can do better, how we can serve better, and as a result, that's how we ended up with the crisis intervention team. And so they're going to explain what they do. They're going to explain their uniforms, because as you can see, everyone here is dressed differently, and they're dressed differently for a reason. And so you'll hear about why that is. So thank you, Sergeant Catalano.
Thank you, Nikki. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name is Sergeant Ben Catalano. I'm one of the sergeants with the crisis intervention teams. We have 2 teams currently. Altogether, there are a total of 12 detectives and 1 coordinator. And some of the things that we do primarily is to respond to mental health pickup calls. We conduct the transports, whether it be from residences or apartments to some of these psychiatric facilities, or between hospitals to these facilities as well. We also negotiate with individuals that may be barricaded inside of their homes. We have 4 of our CIT detectives that are currently a part of the SWAT team negotiators team. So they are trained with the SWAT team as negotiators on some of their large-scale events. A lot of my detectives are intel officers, which gives them access to different databases so that we can search for people, just to help us with our investigations, get phone numbers, contacts for family members to assist us in doing our job when we do our pickups. We have referrals from patrol. If patrol goes out to an address where there might be an individual that is consistently going through crisis and they need a little extra attention, they will refer that individual to us, and then we will go out there and spend that extra time trying to get these individuals connected to the correct resources. And a lot of times patrol officers don't have a ton of time to go out there and negotiate with individuals, so they will give us a handoff to the CIT detectives, and we can spend sometimes hours, or we could spend the majority of our day getting individuals and their families the help that they need. Our detectives also provide training at the academy for the new recruits, and also provide training throughout the department when we implement some new programs. They also partner with different healthcare and mental health care providers. We go out, we have really good relationships with all our providers because we have to work hand in hand with them every day. Let me talk a little bit about uniforms. Part of our job is purely de-escalation. When we go out to somebody in crisis, we do an excellent job of going out and de-escalating the situation. And that first starts with the initial contact of what we arrive in and how we look. So the first thing I want to talk about is our vehicles. We changed the look of our patrol vehicles and stripped all the decals off of them, so they are unmarked right now. We even went as far as to take the lights off the top and had them hidden inside the vehicle. I know there's a lot of stigma about being ashamed when the cops come to give you a transport somewhere, and most of our contacts are non-enforcement. Nobody's getting arrested. We're just there to assist families and these individuals in crisis and to get them help. And when they see a patrol car that's marked, a lot of people feel embarrassed to get into that car. So we understand that, and that's why we decided to go unmarked and take the decals off. Another difference is the uniforms that we wear. Detective McElrath over there, he has his outer vest on. Typically what we wear on a daily basis, it's either a long sleeve or short sleeve shirt underneath. And we want it to be different than your average patrol officer that would be responding out there with a metal badge. So we have a cloth badge. We have a name on the front, and then on the back it says Crisis Intervention Team. A lot of people want to know who we are. We identify who we are. We show them the placard on the back, and we really feel like it has a good impact. It really makes a difference from separating ourselves from just the normal uniform that you see Lieutenant Venable here wearing. We still have the same set of tools on our belt. We wear body-worn cameras. But the biggest difference is we wanted a softer approach with the uniform. We do have, forward to some of the new programs that we have going on. So back in 2018, we had a very violent year with the Phoenix Police Department, and we saw a large spike in the number of officer-involved shootings that year. So what the department did as a whole was they got the National Police Foundation involved in a study to figure out why those numbers were so high in 2018. And they looked at the data, they looked at the circumstances around every single one of these shootings, and came up with a set of recommendations that the police department should follow as a response to how we can do better and in an attempt to get that number of shootings down. So, pertaining to our squad, we have recommendation number 9, which is dealing with mental health issues, crisis response, and treatment needs in the community. This is a specific recommendation tailored towards mental health. And so, they outlined a 6-month period where we would need to implement some new programs to satisfy that recommendation. And I had the honor of arriving as a CIT sergeant during that time when these new programs were being implemented. And there's a lot of them, guys. There's a ton of them. We're trying a ton of different things. We are really, it's been a lot of work, and we've been able to roll out a lot of programs already, and some of them will be rolled out next month, and we're continuing to develop new programs. So first and foremost, one of the programs that we've rolled out is a co-responder pilot program. We partnered up with Crisis Prep and Recovery, and they lent us a licensed counselor, and that licensed counselor rides with my CIT detectives 4 days out of the week. and they are in the car with a detective responding to CIT-related calls with my detectives. And we have to go out there, make the scene safe, but we also have a warm handoff to the counselor in the car for additional resources, or if somebody wants to talk to a counselor on the spot. So we have that availability. We have a navigator program. We've partnered up with both Teros and La Frontera Impact, and they agreed to provide crisis mobile teams specifically for our CIT teams. So if we have an individual that is going through crisis and we feel the need to provide them with some extra resources, maybe they're calling, we've seen a spike in the amount of calls for service at this individual's residence. We could reach out to either Teros or La Frontera, and we could co-respond with them, come up with a plan to respond together and make sure that we get this individual what they need for the situation that they're going through. So that's just another tool we could use as a co-responder program. Again, we only have one counselor riding with us, so we can't have him everywhere at once because we do go citywide. We have the Crisis Response Network is training with our 911 dispatchers. They're actually embedding a behavioral health technician in our 911 call center so that they can identify calls that are crisis related and get them diverted to the Crisis Response Network if that is something that exists. They are training the dispatchers how to identify some of these needs when these individuals call 911. In a lot of cases, so I think right now we're diverting about 350 calls a month to CRN, and these are all calls that came into 911, they were triaged by dispatchers, and they saw the need not to have a uniformed patrol officer go out there, but to get them a different resource through the Crisis Response Network and have them get more of a tailored need to what they're looking for. So that's in the works. Hopefully our dispatchers receive enough training to where they can become more proficient at identifying when somebody's in crisis and how to divert that call properly, for that individual. We do have a Phoenix Police and Fire Behavioral Health pilot program. Currently, there's 2,100 behavioral health related calls coming in on a monthly basis, and we have crisis mobile teams out there, and we also have additional crisis mobile teams available to us, but we need more. So we're coming up with a program to where we're coming up with a system dedicated to police and fire department, and they will get better, adequate services. So they want to put a behavioral health specialist in a van with fire department personnel, and then assign that van to a certain area of the city. And right now for a pilot program, we're going to start with 2 different areas within Phoenix, and that area will have that pair of professionals available to them at their disposal. And we'll see how that works out, and the goal is to expand that to all the precincts within the department. That will give us additional mobile teams to assist patrol when they're responding to these calls. We have a precinct liaison program, so all of our detectives are assigned to different precincts. So if individuals, patrol officers, are having issues in their precinct where they need additional assistance for resources or help with individuals that might be calling 911 more frequently because they're in crisis, they could just reach out to our detectives directly and hand off that information, and then we'll go out and do the follow-up. We have a special needs alert program that's about to roll out next month, and basically members of the community, they can access crisis intervention team webpage and fill out an online PDF form. This is totally voluntary, and if you have somebody within your residence that is special needs, suffering from some type of disability, mental illness, or somebody elderly, you can fill out their information on this PDF form, and after it gets filled out and sent back to us, we put that information into our CAD system, and when officers respond to that location, they will have information prior to their arrival about individuals within that household that may be special needs, or maybe somebody suffering from dementia. So we have that information before we respond out there, and that's for every patrol officer will have that information. That's if somebody fills it out, and that's purely voluntary, and I think that's a huge asset that we have that information going into responding to these calls. So that'll be rolling out next month. The entire department has a mandatory 10-hour mental health first aid training. That's something that is taught by CIT detectives and members of La Frontera Impact. So that's just additional mental health training department-wide for every patrol officer. And then we have a Handle with Care program. And basically this program, it enables police to notify schools if they encounter a child at a traumatic scene, so schools and mental health care leaders can provide trauma-sensitive support right away. So if the police go out to an incident and they encounter kids at the scene, they can send a notification to the school where this child goes to. It's confidential. The school will not know about the traumatic incident, but it'll be labeled Handle with Care. And then their teachers and counselors can intervene, and they have knowledge that this child has just been involved in some type of traumatic incident, and then they can start providing monitoring and services to that child moving forward from there. You guys sick of the programs yet, or what?
I'm not.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs. They're all amazing programs. The goal is to become more efficient, to keep building the partnerships that we have with our existing partners, create new partnerships, and be better out there. That's the bottom line. Again, we want to make sure that we have as many tools as possible to achieve these goals, and I think we're really going in the right direction.
We're going to be able to ask them some questions a little bit later, but thank you. Thank you. When I said progressive, you can see we genuinely are working to be a progressive department. One of the key perks, differences, features of crisis intervention is the function of time. So when it comes to patrol, you have a hot call, meaning priority one, which is, well, what happens on priority one? I call, what's happening?
Something, crime in progress.
Crime in progress. So would we like what? We just got him from patrol. You can see he was done. He was done with patrol. So I'm being attacked, right? Someone's in my house that's not supposed to be there. That's priority one. Give people examples. It's not someone busted the window, I just got home. That's not priority one necessarily. Like that happened to me. I came home, the car window was busted. That's not a priority one call. Person wasn't in the car. It was just me in a broken window. So if something's happening to you or someone you care about, that's priority one. When that happens, there is a hope that, and we have time numbers and all these data points about how quick an officer should get there, and then how much time they will spend, especially if it's not priority one. So if it's priority 2 or priority 3, that means it's not as emergent. There's probably less and less time that can be spent because there's so many calls. We have over 1 million 911 calls a year. That's a lot to handle. When it comes to crisis intervention, what happens is that they have the luxury of time. So I've had them come and we chat. We share a wall, literally we share a wall at the office. And there have been times when some of their officers have spent almost their whole shift with one person, because that person needs that much attention. So you can see how critical and important this function is when it comes to providing better and more progressive service to our community. So our next speaker is going to be the lovely detective, Marianne Ramirez, who's wearing almost a matching outfit as mine. Ain't she cute? Y'all got to remember he's just as loving as detective.
Yeah, I got to say hi to my co-chair here, James. Thanks for being here. James is just newly elected to my Cross Disability Advisory Board. Okay, Detective Ramirez, and I am a liaison for the Chiefs Cross Disability Advisory Board. I have been there at the Community Relations Bureau for approximately now 4 years. Prior, I have 22 years on the department, and I've done other things on the department. But I'm loving it here. My immediate lieutenant is Brian Canoopel, which you've all met. Awesome. I have to say, great, right? The next thing is my sergeant. We have 2 squads. We have 2 squads in the Community Response Bureau. We have a day shift and we have a second shift. I am on the day shift, and that is my Sergeant Ellen Full. The second shift is Sergeant Gates Townsend. Our hours are different. We work from 7 to 5, they work from 9 to 6. We have 12 detectives that are split up between the 2 squads. I know I speak fast. Our mission for the advisory boards, we have here, what we want to do is we want to generate the unity between the community and the police department, which we've always done for years. But now, with these times now, we need it even more. And we also want to create that climate of trust. We believe that having that climate of trust will open better communications between our department and the community. I don't like to say us versus you, because to me, we need you as much as you need us. I feel like we should always be like this. Next thing, we provide a forum. So some of these communities that I'm going to mention, boards, we have forums whereas the community can come out and tell us, the department, hey, we want this, we would like to see this more in our community. How can you help us with this in our community? And then we too will ask the community, well, can you help us with this as well? So, like I say, the two-way communication is amazing, and that's what we continue to strive on and we want. Also, the improvement of, this is what the whole thing just told me how Nikki did this. At the end, what do we want? The quality life of our community members. I'm a public servant. I'm going to go serve your community because I want to take care of you. I want my community to be good. I want it to be healthy, whereas I have a good communication with my community. Okay? Now, these are the 12 advisory boards that we have. And James is on mine. Very lucky to have him. We have the African American, the Arab, the Asian, the Cross Disability. We're going to be the model. And then we have faith-based, the Hispanic, Jewish, LGBTQ, Muslim, and also the Native Americans changed their name to the American Indian. Love it. And now we have the refugee and the Sikh. So these are what the detectives do. They not only go out and we not only go respond to Trump rallies or other rallies or whatever's going on, we also deal with our community, our cross disability boards. Because let's say I have an incident in the cross disability community. What do I want to do? I send James an email, hey, this is what happened. James then disseminates that information to the cross disability community. At least you guys are aware of it. I try to do it right when either a news media is going to go out, I try to do it at the same time, or right after. So that way the community has it. And that's our goal. Now, here we go. The Cross Disability Advisory Board, our chair is Sarah Blanket. She is from Community Bridges. My vice chair is James Hinckley, as you all know him. And he's from the Arizona Leadership Forum, South Mountain Works Coalition. Don't let him fool you, he does a lot more. A lot more. And I am the liaison. So, what we like to do with the board, these are some of the identities. These are some of the communities that we are helping, but we all know that there's so many disabilities now. Some of them are numerous, and some of them are not even named yet, correct? I mean, people have disabilities that they don't know what they have. The doctors don't even know. at times, and then we have one like that. And so what it is, we have autism, behavioral health, which is very important, that ties in our CIT. We have the deaf and hearing impaired, developmental disabilities, the mental health, very important. To me, I say important, but honestly, they're all important to me. To me, if you're mentally health, or if you're a veteran or neurological disabilities, guess what? To me, it's across the board. I'm very much like that. Equal is equal. We're going to take care of you just as much as we are an autism person. Okay? The organizations we deal with are businesses, hospitals, schools, governmental agencies as well. And we work very closely with them. The hospitals, the nonprofit, the group homes. As we all know, we had a situation in a group home. I provided information to my board, right, to let them know, hey, this is what's going to go out. Sometimes I don't, depending on what's going on with it, if it's something that, okay, it's nothing that they took care of it in-house or whatever, but it's something that's going to hit the media big, and I want them to know, and I want them to let the communities know what's going on, I'll shoot it out. That's what I do. And any other facilities, like I've gotten into some calls from like a nursing home where a person has a long-term disability, because not only in nursing homes, we just don't have elderly patients, or persons, we also have young who are disabled. That's it? Anyways, thank you all. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate you.
So one of
I'd like to
the,
say Mary Ann does a great job too.
Thank you.
She does informing and all that, so we're able to get a lot of information out of everything, so we really appreciate your hard work and all the police officers, all you guys, all those.
Thank you, Jane.
thank you. So one of the things about, especially this particular board, everything you see right here on this slide, every board member represents some function of this. So our board members are not just allies and people who are able-bodied or able-minded. They actually represent this. So there we have people, as you can see James. He's in his chair. I don't live in a chair. I don't have that identity. So I can't speak on behalf of his community and what he goes through. So we do a good job, and thank you, Mary Ann, for all your work that you've done to really go out and ensure that the board represents the community and reflects the community, so that when they go back and they share information with the chief or they get input on policy changes and programs, people are speaking from that lens. Just like how you saw the list of all of the boards, all of those people represent the folks in our neighborhoods. I'm not a refugee. So people come in, and many people come in from refugee areas, they come in as a refugee, well, they're coming from places where the police may not be as friendly. Or maybe they wouldn't sit on a panel, or they wouldn't even have a space like this where they could go and talk about what's important in our community and what are our needs. So we get an opportunity to sit down. Mary Ann and her team do a lot of proactive work. They do a lot of presentations, they do a lot of community education. And sometimes it's just a matter of, just like you're here and you're learning about what we do, is going back into those communities and being that touch point, being that point of contact. Like I said, we have 4,000 employees. Where do you start? You know, if you're just coming out of nowhere, you wouldn't even know where to start. So those individuals serve as that point of contact to be a gateway into this huge system that is the Phoenix Police Department. So I'm going to ask the beautiful, illustrious Charlie to come with her lovely red hair. And Charlie represents our Bias Crimes Unit, which I will tell you, she's the only one on the panel who's not part of the Community Relations Bureau. However, once upon a time, Bias Crimes is part of CRB, so they're still family. They're still very close, love her to death. I'm going to hand her this little clicker because she has a lot of slides. There's a lot of information to cover, and I know that we are at the 11:15 hour, so we're going to shoot for about 20 minutes to try to get through the slides. Okay. Because I want to make sure that you all have time to ask questions. Now be mindful, we're going to be here for lunch. We'll hang out in the break room. You can come and eat with us and ask more questions. And there's a lot of people who I'm pretty sure you're texting like, girl, you didn't hear this, you should have been here. They might want to come and hang out with us, so we're not going to leave. So if you don't get your question answered in this session, we will stay and hang out. We can break bread together. chart.
Okay. I like to get out from, I'm really short. I'm probably by far the shortest person here. I feel like I'm like hidden back there.
I feel your pain.
Oh, so 15 years ago, I was in medical school, and I saw an injustice between an officer and a person of a marginalized population. It impacted me so much, I could not sleep, and for weeks, I didn't know what I was going to do about it. I had to do something. So I quit medical school and became a police officer. So for the next 15 years, I researched everything I can. I love school, so I know I'm weird. I'm a major geek. So research everything I could to find out how I can make an impact. And this is just one of those ways working in bias crimes is that I can make an impact. Which button is it?
Click circle.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
So bias crimes unit is very small. We have a lieutenant. Maybe you'll come there someday, but we have a sergeant, Dustin Perkins, and then there's me, Charlie McDermott, my name just changed, and then Detective Brandon Willingham. So there's 2 of us for the city of Phoenix, and we are inundated with reports, that's for sure. So we have a full caseload, and we do all kinds of community outreach. We work directly with all the units that are up here. We're specialized investigations. That means we, assaults are regular assaults. It's easy to say this person hit me. Bias crimes are much more gray areas. They take a lot more information investigating to understand what the bias crime, what actually happened. We work with specific prosecutors because bias crimes is not just cut and dry laws. It's confusing for a lot of people, and that's why we need specific prosecutors to be able to handle that. We contact the victims and the offenders. A lot of reports that go to different investigative units, the victims